Fire, it boils your water, it can cook your food, it gives you heat, it gives you light, it can keep predators at bay. Man has had fire from the beginning. It is a cornerstone of survival, one of the most important elements. And fire is all around us, but with technology, it's harnessed. And a lot of times we lose touch with how to create fire. Sure, you got your Bic lighter, you can create fire pretty quickly. But the problem with your Bic, while it's the most convenient, it's the easiest to use, these are very vulnerable. They go out and the fuel runs out or the wheel gets stuck. And having a small fire kit is really vital. Having the tools you need to be able to create fire, and having tinder, which is a big thing as well. Today we're going to take a look at a number of different fire kits. We have a lot of different tools. I'm a fire bug. I love to make fire. I like to demonstrate it. But guys, when you're making fire, it is sometimes more difficult than you think. And being able to create that fire and knowing a few principles and being able to process your tinder and getting your wood started. So we're going to look at a lot of different elements, and guys, fire is that important. So make sure that you have not only the ability to create fire, but also to know how to use it. And having a small fire kit is really one of the best ways. Different tools, your tinder, in one place, in your go bag, in your get home bag, for that matter, at home somewhere, where you have the means to really create fire. Again, it is a cornerstone of survival. These are just a number of different fire kits that we have set up. And really they're different in different ways, but however you set your fire kit up is up to you. There's a lot of choices. And a lot of that has to do with just size. Having a really small fire kit, you want to have, though, all of your items in one area. That way, if I need fire, I'm not looking all through my pack for all the different ways to create fire. Plus, I have my tinder in here. And you can make the small kit. You can go all the way up to this Pioneer, which is a tool roll from Roaring Fire Gear. These are great. And this really sets up a much larger kit. And of course, there's just different sizes. And we're going to look at these, but before we do, we're going to talk about some of the elements of your fire kit, just to give you some ideas about what you want to put in your kit. Guys, when it comes to fire, it is essential to survival, and having a good fire kit and knowing how to use it is vital for survival situations. And Exotac makes the best fire starters on the market. Made in the USA, down in Winder, Georgia. Using really high-grade aluminum, they machine some really beautiful handles, a lot of different features, replaceable ferro rods, and a number of other different fire starting tools. You get 20% off using Suits20 with a link down below in the description. And a big thank you to Exotac for sponsoring today's video. All right, guys, really the most convenient way is your Bic lighter. It's so easy to use, and they just come on. Convenient, very convenient. And while it's the easiest, it's the most vulnerable. The problem is the fuel comes out if this gets pressed, or they just run out of fuel, or this little wheel gets locked down. Sometimes it corrodes and locks down and you're not able to use it. Now, even if the fuel is out, you can still get a spark just by rolling the wheel. So that is something that you can use in a dire emergency. But guys, honestly, I love Bic lighters. I always have them in every fire kit, but I don't depend on them. I have other items. But then a big upgrade to the Bic lighter is the Exotac fire sleeve. This is a waterproof case for your Bic lighter. It slips right in. You have a rubber type housing, and then we have a polymer cap. And we have a lanyard here at the bottom. But what's really cool is I can light my lighter, hold the flame down, and bring up this little sleeve right here. And this holds the sleeve, and it keeps you from burning your finger. If you hold this down too long, it can burn it, and then it'll just pop off. So it just gives you a little extra ability to burn. But Exotac makes some pretty cool stuff, and we're going to be looking at some more of their stuff in a second. And then we have a number of different type lighters. Of course, you have your torch lighter, which has become very popular. Another torch lighter, different styles. And this is a really hot flame. Here's the Dism. This actually has a torch version, but this has your regular version as well, and you can turn it upside down without burning your hand. It's just kind of fancy, to be honest. Another torch lighter. I mean, you can get these at any convenience store. And here we have one, though, that has the coil, and it usually takes a few times to get it started. And here it has this coil that lights up. This is a really hot flame as well. And we have one that actually will do a standard flame, and then it does that same flame in here. You can't see it, but man, it is really hot. And of course you have your Zippo lighters and all kind of different types. Of course, when it comes to matches, a very traditional way, these are just standard matches, and they are light on the box matches. Here we go. And these are just standard matches. And we also have some strike on the box matches here as well. You can get strike anywhere matches where they're getting harder and harder to find. But one of my favorites is the waterproof matches. Now, these are lifeboat matches, and they are pretty phenomenal, actually. You can burn these. They burn all the way down, and you can dip these in water and bring it out, and it'll relight. So these are really my preferred choice for matches, and I like the long stem. You can get some lifeboat type matches or just survival matches like these. And these don't burn quite as much, but they'll give you the same effect. And there's a ton of different specialty matches out there, and this has a striker right on the cap, and it keeps this sealed. But then you have containers for your matches. This is what I would recommend, and so this is the Match Cap XL from Exotac, and we have our lifeboat matches in here. And I even have some of the full size and the smaller sizes. I just put whatever, and then I have a striker here, and we have one at the bottom. These are really great to keep your matches from getting wet, and UCO also has some pretty cool containers, and these have the matches, has a little striker here, and we have a striker on the side or a board that you can run that on. Now this is something that I've just found, and this is UCO as well. These are extra large, and I'm going to tell you, these are huge matches. I actually found these at Bass Pro. Just thought that was pretty cool, so they're just really up in their game. And guys, honestly, there's a ton of different choices. Now, one very popular bushcraft method is the Ferro rod, or the ferrocerium rod, or the fire steel. You can get some very inexpensive fire steels, and just a couple of dollars or $3 or so. But the problem is they're typically soft, and you can go through them pretty quickly. But they do work. My favorite is the Exotac Fire Steel. I mean, these things are tremendous, and you can replace the Ferro rod. And they come with a number of different choices, whether it's this or even the striker, where it has the rod and the strikers on here. And I believe this is called the Nano Striker. And then we have the small little spark light, and this is just a great way to get a spark. Also, it does hold a tinder tab inside. In fact, all the Ferro rods from Exotac have tinder tabs in these little compartments, and here. This is the large, and then they have just the standard striker, and this is actually really cool. It's lightweight. It's the Poly Striker XL. You have your striker here, and so you can just strike this once you get the carbon off. So this is a great way, and then it just attaches in here so you don't have to worry about losing it. And these are great, but also here is from Georgia. This is Fatwood Steels, and this is a beautiful piece of fatwood. This is your handle. You can actually carve part of it off if you want to. I hate to mess this up, but it's beautiful, but you can. And so you can use this as fire tinder. Of course, here's another one. And they do have paracord pulls, and they have an extra piece of fatwood which you can use to be able to create tinder. We're really going to talk about tinder in a minute. This one is just an antler. It's a pretty cool, but it's decorative. There are different types, and this is actually one that's pretty cool. It's an enclosed ferro rod, and it has the striker on one side, and then it has the ferro rod on the other. And so ferro rods are great. You do need to kind of keep them protected because they can, if they get really wet or they're left outside, they can degrade some. But there's a lot of different choices when it comes to ferro rods. Now, one of the big traditional ways is flint and steel. And this is a way that people have been creating fire for generations, and you need some char cloth typically to be able to get that lit, or a really good nest. It is a little bit more difficult because you're just getting a small spark. Char cloth works very well to get that going. Of course, you can use the bow drill method, which is really a lot of work, but if you don't have anything else, it does work. And then we have the fire piston, and this is using compression to be able to create a fire. And it's really one of those different ways to do it. And you pop it, you put a little bit piece of char cloth in the end, and then when you pop this, it'll light that just from the compressed air. It's a pretty cool idea. And then here at the top, you can put in your char cloth extra. But this is fairly difficult to do, and so is the flint and steel to a point, unless you really know what you're doing. Well guys, then you have just your natural elements, this biomass, and this is just shavings to get your fire started. They need to be very small, and so that's a great way to get things started, plus fat wood. And this comes from the pine tree, the center of the pine tree, and this really lights well, and you can find that in the wild, but if you can carry some with you, it makes it a lot easier. Now, one of the ways that we've been doing this for years is Vaseline and cotton balls. And it's cheap. You just mix in the Vaseline with the cotton balls, and then you have an instant fire starter, and it kind of puffs out. This is a great thing that I've been using for a long time. This is a paraffin wax over small makeup pads, and it's actually Gulf wax. And we put the wax in a pan and we dip these. I did a video about this a while back. And also dryer lint, taking dryer lint, taking Gulf wax, pouring over it. You use toilet paper rolls that are empty, and you can burn the entire thing. You can cut pieces off. This works great, and it also works great in an egg carton. You can fill it up with dryer lint, put the wax over it, and it's an incredible fire starter. But there are also commercial grade like the tinder tabs, which the U.S. military uses. These light really well. And then we have a variation of the tinder tabs here. And we have things like this fire stick and Pro Camp Tech, which is like a rope that's been saturated with some kind of flammable material, and this works really good. And there's a ton of different options for your fire tinder, including hot snot, which this stuff works great. We did a short on this. It was crazy how it did. And even having a small candle. Now this is a 4-hour candle, and I got this at Exotac as well. And this, you can light it and then it'll burn, and then you can really allow it to get your fire started quickly. And you can use a candle for fire starting just in general. But guys, fire tinder is very important. This, while you can use this and it's a natural element, starting a fire with your fire steel with this is going to be difficult at best, even a Bic lighter, and it goes out pretty quickly. So the firewood is definitely an upgrade, and then these just give you a little bit of an accelerant to be able to get that fire started. But having fire tinder is going to be important in your fire kit. Also, a Fresnel lens, and if you have really bright sunlight, you can magnify the sunlight, and if you have some tinder, you can catch it on fire. And this is a very tiny way to have something to be able to use for fire starting. Now, this is a big favorite. It's the Sparklight, and it's the Fire Starter Aviation Survival. These are issued to military pilots in their survival kit. Comes in a nice little plastic container. It's not waterproof, but it's definitely water resistant. Inside we have a striker, and it has arrows pointing, so you just hit it and it creates a spark. Now that's difficult to start a fire, except that we have 5 tinder tabs in here, and the tinder tabs have accelerant and they light. These are great. You just puff them out, and I have a lot of these. I really like the tinder tabs, and it has instructions as well. So this is really a great little fire starting unit, just kind of self-contained, and you can get these on eBay or Amazon. Now, one thing is processing your wood. And if you get the fire started, even with tinder, you need to have wood to go with it. And being able to process that wood, of course, here we have one of the silky saws. This is an excellent cutter. This is just one of my favorite tools for fire starting or for building shelter or whatever. These cut incredibly well by hand. And this is just a great option. Also, having a fixed blade knife. Now, you may need to do some trimming, shavings, whatever, and you can use a good fixed blade knife. You want to make sure, though, that it has an edge on the top, that it's not rounded off, because one of the problems is that if you have a fire steel, you need that edge. Now, secondly, it needs to have high carbon. There is some stainless that has high carbon, but test your knife against a fire steel before you carry it, because that's really an important part that you need to do. So with this, we've got enough carbon in here to produce spark. And we've got a nice little fixed blade knife, and this is the Strong Arm by Gerber. It is an excellent little knife. And then we have just a regular pocket knife, and you need to also make sure that you have an edge on it. And so same thing, this will create the spark as well. So you need to test that to make sure. And then I put one of these in my fire kits. Now also is having a pencil sharpener. And this seems like something that you wouldn't think of, but this is great for small sticks. And just like the shavings that we had over here a minute ago, it was created by actually this pencil sharpener. And so we can use the small sticks about the size of a pencil, and we create a lot of little shavings. And that'll make getting your fire started faster. This is a pretty cool little thing. This is from Smith's. It's like a cheese grater, but it also has a small little fire steel. And I can take this, put it here, then I can take some wood and just rub it, and it'll create shavings in this box. One of the things that's really nice is it does put it in one spot. And then I can pull it out, dump it out, and then I have fire shavings. This to me is a great option. And you do have your fire steel even though it's very small. So also being able to process. And we have a magnesium bar, which I missed earlier. And this has just been a traditional way for people to start fire. Magnesium is very flammable. It really flashes up, and you have a ferro rod here, and you have your striker. So you take shavings from your magnesium bar, make a little pile, and then come in and strike it, and this is just a great option. So guys, what we're going to do now is just go through each of the kits briefly. We're not going to go through all the details, but I'm going to show you a few setups, and again, it'll help you to formulate your plan for your fire kit. Now we're going to start out with a small kit. This is the PicoFire Pro from Roaring Fire Gear. I love this little bag or little pouch. It's very well made. It has a little keeper to hold the zipper, and then we just bring it. It has the little small pulls so I can grip them, and yet it still retains that small size. Inside we have a number of tools. I have my match caps, and these have the lifeboat matches in them. This is from Exotac. I have a Exotac fire rod. We have the magnesium bar with the striker. I have a knife in here that will strike the ferro rod. It's got carbon steel. I have the little nano striker. This is the little spark light. These things work great. And I have a Bic lighter. And we have a pencil sharpener to make our tinder. And I have the makeup pads that have the Gulf wax or paraffin, which these burn great, and you can slice these up to smaller sizes. And I have Vaseline and cotton balls. Again, I'm big on tinder, guys. You really need to have that tinder. And this does give you, though, the option to expand past that. But a knife in your kit's going to be vital, especially when you're creating small sticks and shavings, things like that, to go with your first accelerant. Now we have another small one. This is the Maxpedition. These are very useful little pouches. And again, I've got my fire rod, my lighter, another fire steel, and we have our magnesium bar. We have a knife that has carbon in it, and we have some Vaseline and cotton balls. And then here at the back, I have my waterproof matches just in the box. And we could make that, we could do something different with that if we wanted. But this gives me the basic tools. Now this actually came with a Vostede Acorn knife. It was just included, but this is a cool little pouch. And up front, I keep my fire tinder, and these are the makeup pads again with the paraffin. And then it just kind of closes up. It just separates it. And then here, there's no real organization, but I've got everything I need with my fire rod, my lighter. We've got our small little fire sleeve here for the micro Bic, and waterproof matches, and that's it. So I just need a few items. I have my tinder. I have multiple ways to be able to create fire, and this is a very simple little setup. The moral to this story is you can use about any small pack. I could even put items back here if I wanted to. Now here we have the little firelight pouch. This has a Fresnel lens at the front. This is from Roaring Fire Gear as well. Of course you have your Molly. There's a lot you can do, but we're just kind of sticking with the fire theme. Now these just come down about halfway. We bring this out. We have a knife. We have a lighter. I have my Exotac fire steel or the fire rod. And then I have another one of the little nano sparks. And then we have tinder tabs, Vaseline and cotton balls, and in the back I have fat wood. So I'm really heavy on tinder with this one, but we've got a lot of fire tools to get started. So it just kind of opens up, it keeps things from falling out, and it's really easy to pack. And here we have another Maxpedition pouch. We have our Match Cap XL, we have the fire steel, the fire rod, and we have the nano striker, and we also have back here a magnesium bar with the striker, We have the blast match. This is something that I actually didn't show because it was in one of the kits. But here we can bring this out, and with one hand, we can create fire. This is something that the Air Force uses quite a bit because, again, you can use it one hand and it's real easy to use and it pops back in. And I have a lighter here. We have tinder and little tinder tabs. And then we have one of the Sparklite fire starters, and this is what the pilots use again, and this is a great little kit, and it has tinder in there. Simple but effective. And another kit, and I'm showing you a lot of these just because you might want to set up yours in a different way. Now this one's definitely different. We have our Bic, but we also have our flint and steel, we have the fire piston, we have a ferro rod, we have our matches, and these are just your standard strike on the box matches. And then we have our Vaseline and cotton balls here at the back, and we have a lighter, and it's one of the torch lighters. And so that just gives us some redundancy, but yet it gives us some multiple options. And guys, I'm telling you, when you get out in the woods, things just don't work. The fire steel works pretty good no matter what, but you know, it is a little bit slower than your Bic. The flint and steel is definitely a lot slower, and the fire piston. So just some different options, however you want to set it up. And here we have another Maxpedition pouch, and we're going to open it up. Lighter, we have chapstick. Now chapstick's something that makes a great fire starter. It's flammable and you can use it. And then we have a UCO fire steel with the striker. Also, I have some waterproof matches in the back, or lifeboat matches. We have a knife. This is able to light our fire steel if we need it, and we have the 4-hour candle, and we have our tinder tabs and Vaseline and cotton balls. So we have both kind of shoved down in here. So a small kit, but yet again, this is going to get you through. Well, next we're going with a little bit of a bigger pouch. This is the Ember from Roaring Fire, and this has dual zippers, YKK. Open it up, we have a little more room for more items. We have the ProCamp Tech fire starting rope. This stuff again is great, and this is going to give you a lot of fire. Bic lighter, we have the Poly Striker from Exotac. I have one of the, this is actually a pretty cool little lighter, and we hit it, and then when you light it, it does that really hot flame, and it's very minimal. And we have a jet type or torch lighter, which works really well. It needs to have fuel though, and that's one of the downsides. We have a knife, and we have some of the Sparklite Aviation Survival Sparklite. This is just great. And then I have one of the fire sleeves over another Bic lighter just in case. Again, very convenient to use. Here I have Vaseline and cotton balls, and on this side I have the small little pads that have paraffin wax. So just another setup. And guys, you can mix and match all of this. Now next we're going with a tool roll setup, and tool rolls are one of my favorite. I love to put tools in it, but I love also to build survival kits and fire kits. This is the Pioneer. It's from Roaring Fire Gear, and it has wax canvas. And we have just a really solid quality piece here, and we have these little straps that open up. But the great thing about a tool roll is you open it up and everything's right there where you can get to it, and you can see everything. This is the most organized kit out there. Plus you can put a lot more items. I mean, we even have the Fatwood steel set up in here. It fits. We have the match cap XL with the lifeboat matches. We have the small Smith's little fire tinder grater and we have a pencil sharpener, and we have a nano striker from Exotac, and we have the fire rod XL, which is huge, but it'll fit in here. We also have our Bic lighter in the fire sleeve with this, and we have a knife that will strike the fire steel, and that's just a very important thing to make sure you have. Also, we have, again, some of the Sparklite little kit. We have some Vaseline cotton balls, and we have the makeup pads with the wax. And then I have waterproof matches. And these go in these little mesh nets, and it folds over like this. And then here at the end, I went ahead and put some of the fire stick in here because it'll fit. And this stuff, again, is great. We did a review on this. It was pretty amazing, actually. So really cool little kit. This just expands it out. and it gives you a lot of options. And it rolls up very well into one small package. And of course, we've got it stuffed, but we want to take up all the room we can with our fire starting. So we can pack this away. It's solid. I know where my fire kit is. And that's the thing about all these fire kits, guys. It's just a place that has your tools and you know where they are. So guys, fire. While you've got that little Bic lighter and it's convenient, it's easy to use, but it can go out at the worst possible time. While those little Bic lighters are in all of my fire kits, having additional tools is just going to give you a fighting chance. And again, fire is a cornerstone of survival. Be strong, be of good courage. God bless America. Long live the Republic. Do you know the way to Santa Fe? Ba, 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 ba. Okay, and so one of the big things that I'm really about the Bic lighter. Little flame, it creates it ain't creating nothing. Here, shoot. Roly-poly. Yeah, roly-poly. Whatever the heck this thing's called. I can't remember what this was called. Including hot snot. Oops, here to keep your zipper from coming open. Maybe I could have that on my pants. And I've got my tinder. I've got a way to make tinder. I don't have a knife. And we have one of the, what is this stupid thing called? It's the poly striker.
Poly striker.
The poly striker. If you've ever watched Beavis and Butthead, fire, 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 fire.